AT&T Wireless Classic, Marquette and Villanova. We talked about the four freshmen for Villanova. Jay Billis's cross court. Jay, how is Marquette going to try to exploit all the youth that the Wildcats have right now?
Well, Dan, Marquette's got a veteran team, and Tom Crean's going to want to throw a lot of different looks at the young Wildcats, both offensively and defensively, whether it's back picks, pick and roll actions, pin down, screen for the screener action. Tom Crean wants to put Villanova in situations they don't practice every day and see how they function under stress. That's going to put a high premium on Villanova's ability to communicate with each other. How do they talk through those back picks so they can get through screens, through the screen for the screener action? The better they talk, the better the chance Villanova is going to have to win this ball game. Communication going to be very important, Dan and Dick.
All right, Jay, thank you. Amazingly, this is the third team of the six we've seen in this tournament to start. Two freshmen, Randy Foye and Alan Ray, both true freshmen, starting for Villanova tonight. Dwayne Wade, the kind of go-to guy, as we mentioned, for Marquette. He led the Golden Eagles, Dick, in scoring, rebounding, assists, steals, and blocks last season. He led him in everything.
Well, he was Mr. Do-It-All. He was absolutely the best player in Conference USA. And they had a phenomenal year last year until they got bumped off in the tournament by Tulsa. A team, by the way, to watch this year. Tulsa's one of those mid-major teams that could make a run for the Final Four. That's how talented they are.
Villanova in white, Marquette in blue. Big East Conference USA, and the Golden Eagles have the first possession of the game.
And Dan, here's the big question for Marquette. Can Travis Diener handle the point guard slot and replace the graduating Cordell Henry?
Dwayne Wade gets the friendly bounce, and Marquette takes the early lead.
And the only rap on his game is the ability to consistently shoot the jump shot. But they say he has really worked on that element.
He's a junior, sat out as a partial qualifier, but practiced with the team his freshman season, starred with them his junior season. Alan Ray with a long three as he misses his first attempt. Here's Wade going to work on Snowden, and a quick foul. Going to be interesting to see who Villanova tries to line up against Dwayne Wade. Tom Crean, one of the real rising stars in the basketball coaching fraternity, a great season, and now starting to get all the good Wisconsin kids, and boy, this program's headed in the right direction.
Well, he is a rising star. I think both guys on the sideline today, when you talk about Jay Wright, you talk about Tom Crean, you speak to people on the know in the basketball world, they rate both guys as future stars of the coaching fraternity.
This is Todd Townsend wearing number 1 for Marquette. Dump it inside. Robert Jackson, a transfer from Mississippi State. He's from Milwaukee, came home for just his senior season, and look at the size he has inside.
I'll tell you, Dan, he brings that strength on the low box inside, a power player.
And they get a mismatch on a switch. Ray into heavy traffic, off to Foye. Both freshmen. And nearly stolen. It'll stay with Villanova. 17 on the shot clock as we go to Jay.
Guys, we've already had an example of the screens that Marquette's trying to set in order to create some confusion inside. A screen for Robert Jackson underneath, that forces a mismatch. There wasn't great communication, so they didn't handle that screen well. You're going to see it all night long.
Ray gets his man in the air, misses the three, and a big, strong rebound by Jackson.
You know, how good was Jackson? Well, let me put it this way. He averaged 13 points a game as a South in the tough SEC for Mississippi State.
What a feed! Oh, and Merritt's going to go to the line, but it was all set up by the first pass from Robert Jackson.
I'll tell you, the one thing I like about Wade's game, he's very unselfish for a star player. He's always trying to make the extra pass to make people better. There's the little handoff. You got to take that up strong and convert.
Merritt, a junior from Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, will head to the line, but Dwayne Wade is the guy who makes the Marquette engine go. The Golden Eagles got off to a great start last year, Dick. They won the Great Alaska Shootout up in Anchorage. They beat Tennessee, Indiana, and Gonzaga. They started the season 10-0. They had the second best regular season record in the conference next to Cincinnati. They lost in the conference tournament championship game to Cincinnati. And then, as you mentioned, were beaten by Tulsa. They won 26 games last year.
Yeah, they were brilliant. They were super on the defensive end. They led Conference USA defensively, only allowed 58.9 points a game. They have great pride on the defensive end. We saw it at practice today.
Yep.
The intensity and the emotion at practice.
Let's see if Villanova can get some flow offensively. Not on this possession.
There's an example of their defense. They constantly communicate. See, one of the great things of good defensive teams is the art of communicating and playing well within a team concept, not just individually.
A 6-0 lead early for Marquette. Trying to take advantage of the size inside, but a travel is the call on Jackson.
I'll tell you, Robert Jackson is going to present many a problem for opponents of Marquette down in that low post. He was a valuable player down Mississippi State, but just decided he wanted to get home, and he went home for his senior year.
Villanova, by the way, playing with 3 guards and 2 forwards at the outset of the game. They don't really have anybody on the floor now who can match up physically with Jackson. And another tough pass right through the hands of Ricky Wright. And Wright, the senior, says to Ray, the freshman, hey, settle down. You know how to do this. Everybody just needs to relax.
As a look at Jay Wright, 5 years an assistant at Villanova under Rolly Massimino, then went with Rolly down there to UNLV, and then went to Hofstra where he did a brilliant job.
Wade dumps it down again to Merritt. Tip no good. Merritt again, and it's 8-0 Marquette.
That's what they need out of Merritt. They want him to be aggressive. They need more rebounding out of him. And their bench, they're pumped up, man. They're pumped up.
You know who else is pumped up? They brought a lot of fans from Milwaukee. We were told next to Villanova, which is just an hour and a half away, no school brought more fans to this tournament than Marquette.
Well, they got a lot of fans right here in the New York City area. A lot of graduates. All created by one of the guys I love, Al McGuire. He created that line from New York to Milwaukee.
Another turnover. This has been Villanova's biggest problem for 2 years now, turning the ball over, and now Marquette gives it right back. And a foul is committed by Merritt. The Wildcats last year had a terrible turnover ratio, worst in the Big East. Derek Snowden, who was the point guard last year, turned the ball over 122 times all on his own. They need to find somebody to get the offense going, whether it's Snowden, whether it's Foy, the freshman, but they just got to control the basketball.
Yeah, take a look at those numbers. You can't turn the ball over, man. That's Apple Turnover City, and you're in trouble. You turn it over like that.
Your guy, Dick, is in the game. Jason Frazier, McDonald's All-American, a 3rd freshman, already seeing action for Villanova here tonight. He wears number 20. Wright, the senior, misses the shot. Here's Frazier. Hello. He missed it. Sullivan gets it back, and finally Villanova scores almost 3.5 minutes into the game.
Well, you know, Frazier kept the ball alive. He's a very active body. He's right here from Amityville. It's got a big following. Has about 200, 300 people here, I understand.
All 4 of the Villanova freshmen come from the greater New York City area, including Frazier, and he is the guy that everybody was talking about coming into the season. But the coaching staff at Villanova say it's Alan Ray and Randy Foy who have really exceeded expectations so far.
They say he's got to earn that starting job. He's a little limited on the offensive end. He's got to get stronger physically, but he's very quick, and he's got a terrific upside in that if he sets his mind to be a player, he could be a special player.
Diener with a nice feed underneath. Townsend finds Jackson, and a foul as well.
I like that big guy. I like that big wide body, Dan. He is going to create a nightmare for people. Big, wide, tough, physical on the inside.
Well, Jay Wright's got to be concerned early with Villanova's turnovers. And look at another beautiful 3-way passing play for the Golden Eagles.
Nice kick inside. Now they're always looking for that extra pass. Unselfish basketball. Have a nice little triangle that created that opportunity. I tell you, Jackson on a low box and Wade on the wing is going to be a tough tandem to deal with. Hey, we saw a tough tandem last night. Maurice Williams and Erwin Dudley from Alabama. I thought that Williams was the best player on the floor in both games.
How about what we're going to see in game 2 tonight from Texas?
Yeah, T.J. Ford and James Thomas.
Snowden long on the 3, weak side rebound for Ray, and he'll knock it home and go to the line as well.
Comes from a great high school program here in New York City. St. Raymond's was coached by an outstanding coach, Gary DeCesar, now an assistant at Richmond under Jerry Wainwright. Thought it was a great hire, bringing DeCesar. There you are on the offensive boards. Nice little head fake, freezes the defender, and you go up with that steal. For you young kids out there, use that ball fake, use that head fake.
And Ray completes the 3-point play. That's going to take us to our first TV timeout here at Madison Square Garden. The Golden Eagles up by 6 early.
ESPN2's presentation of NCAA basketball is presented by AT&T Wireless, who brings you M-Life, your mobile life made better.
And back inside Madison Square Garden, where we've got another great doubleheader. Villanova Marquette, as we mentioned. Still coming up later is Texas and Georgia. Marquette, a great team now, great tradition, as you well know, having coached against them in some of their best years.
Oh, I'll tell you one thing. Al McGuire was such a special person. Had no ego. He was so real as a person, and he really knew how to orchestrate a game from the sideline. In fact, was reminiscent of Jimmy Valvano. The two of them really could control the game. Had one of my greatest memories in '77. We beat Marquette at Milwaukee, man, by 1 at the buzzer, and that was the year they won the national title. I love Al. I miss him so much. He was such a unique, special character and had such a passion for whatever he did in life, but he was just a great person.
And you can see the name Al is still on the Marquette jerseys as Jackson gets inside and has it knocked away. Villanova with a chance to run for the first time tonight. Allen Ray can't finish, but he draws the foul on Dwayne Wade. Another nice touch, Dick. They're building a new facility in Milwaukee. It's going to be a practice facility for the men and the game facility for the women called the Al McGuire Center in Milwaukee.
I think that's fantastic. There's Villanova out in transition, showing some great quickness. The trailer right there, Jason Frazier, showed superb quickness going from one end to the other.
Here's Ray to talk about kids maybe wilting under the pressure of the bright lights here in Madison Square Garden as Foy comes back in. Well, Allen Ray played here as a 10-year-old at halftime, I think, of the pro game. So this is old news for him.
I'll tell you one thing about these kids. When you talk about Foy and Ray and you talk about Frazier, they've played so much basketball. They come in here as freshmen in terms of academics, but they're not freshmen in terms of basketball.
Baseline, Merritt, little push shot, and the follow goes. I think Townsend's going to get credit for it.
Townsend's an athlete, very quick, very athletic. We talk about athletic, we talk about quickness, lateral quickness, ability to jump.
There's some quickness there by Foy to create his own shot. Nicely done.
He's a big-time prospect. All you have to do is watch practice for about 10 minutes, and you know he's a big-time player.
He's a guy who can play either guard spot, as can Derek Snowden, the incumbent at the point. Three-pointer, a little bit strong for Wade, and the rebound to the Wildcats, who are right back in this game. Here's Ray shaking and baking through three guys. And the rebound for Ricky Wright. Travel.
He traveled. I'll tell you, they've got a nice blend of youth and experience when you look at Villanova. You think about Wright, and Sullivan, and Snowden, and Buchanan, who we're not seeing tonight.
How about game two? How about T.J. Ford, one of the best point guards in America, as he leads the Horns against Jim Herrick's Georgia Bulldogs. Second game tonight. Now, we're at practice today, and Jim Herrick saying, why are we ranked 16th? We got nothing. We've got a couple guys on suspension, but you know better. He can coach, and they got a pretty good team.
Jarvis Hayes, remember that name. He's one of the real underrated players in America. A lot of people don't know about him nationally, except coaches and players in the SEC know about him.
There's Wade. Well, it's your job to put Wade and Hayes on the map here tonight.
Oh, I'll tell you, Wade doesn't need my help, man. With a floating drive like that with that left hand, I tell you, he can do it all. You and I had them last year, and he's a special, special player.
We had them in one of the great games of last season at Cincinnati. The Bearcats won it, I think, by just a single point.
Yeah, they did.
Here's Wright, second team All-Big East a year ago. Kicks it out to Foy, no good, and Townsend the rebound.
Travis Diener taking over that important point guard slot.
Townsend for three.
Diener's a guy that can really shoot the three.
Ray wisely pulls it out and slows things down.
Yeah, good basketball IQ right there. Didn't have numbers, bring the ball back out.
Four freshmen on the floor right now for Villanova. Curtis Sumter's into the game as well. All four of them are in the game, and the floater goes for Foy.
Randy Foy, Dick Hoops Weiss of the Daily News, told me earlier this year you're going to love Randy Foy out of Newark Eastside High School.
Diener misses a three. Another rebound for Ray, and they're looking to run again.
Smart.
Yeah.
Freshman making a good basketball decision. That's what we talk about when we say basketball IQ. Understand situations on the floor.
Jay Wright talked about these kids and how poised they are and how coachable they are. And that's not always the case. Think of Seton Hall a couple of years ago, a very talented freshman class. They never meshed with the upperclassmen. It was a disaster, but Jay Wright thinks it's going to be a much different situation here at Villanova this year.
There's a look at the freshmen that they recruited and what they did on their scholastic level. Unbelievable numbers. Highly recruited, all of them. You're 100% right. Seton Hall had no chemistry at all.
Yeah.
You're talking about that tremendous freshman class led by Eddie Griffin, now in the NBA. Tommy Amica. In fact, the guy that recruited a lot of single players, Fred Hill, one of the great assistants in college basketball, is now with Jay Wright.
That's right. Derek Snowden with a miss. Sullivan, another strong rebound and putback. Let's check in with Jay Billis. Jay?
You know, guys, one of the areas where Villanova's done a great job in this ballgame is on the offensive glass and in transition. When they play against Marquette's half-court defense, they haven't been as good. But on the offensive glass, they've been dynamite. On the other end, Marquette's taken too many quick shots. They've got to force this young Villanova team to guard. The more they do that, the more the Villanova players have a chance of breaking down. But Jay Wright has to be very pleased with the effort he's getting from his team.
Yeah, Randy Foye especially looks like he's been around a whole lot longer than 7.5 minutes.
That was another floating move by Wade right there. He really did a great job getting into 3-second area and getting that conversion. He's married now. He was telling me before the game about his little baby, Syer. He's going to be a hoopster also. There he is. Watch him go to the hoops. He gets right into the gap in the seam, uses the left hand. You young kids out there, learn to use either hand.
Well, they were a little bit worried, not because of anything he said, but that he might leave after last year, which was his first year playing as a sophomore, because he was a partial qualifier as a freshman. He's come back as a junior now for his second year of basketball. Brought a lot of Marquette fans with him. A lot of excitement going on in Marquette right now.
Well, they were worried about him leaving, and all the fathers got together, got out the rosary beads, and did a lot of praying up there at Marquette, being a Catholic university, and said, please, don't let our guy, Mr. Wade, leave us.
I mean, think about a 6'5" player who leads his team, and a good team, in scoring, rebounding, steals, assists, and blocks.
And what he was really disappointed with was the fact that he didn't finish the game strong, he thought. He thought that he had to really work on being a lot stronger as a player at the end of a game during winning time.
Sub for Marquette, another freshman for them, Steve Novak, 6'10" out of Brownville, Wisconsin, a very good shooter. Where's number 20? Number 40, Terry Sanders, is into the game for the Golden Eagles now as well.
And Marquette rotates out of the man, playing that aggressive zone defense. They slide together as a unit. We saw them practice that today.
Sullivan inside, follow no good. Kept alive, though, by Frazier, and outs out of bounds over to the Golden Eagles. But, you know, Dick, looking at Sullivan, having done a number of their games, he's a lot more aggressive offensively right now. He's known as kind of a jumping jack rebounder, defensive stopper, but he's been pretty strong around the basket.
Yeah, he's really getting inside. Nobody's blocking him out. He's getting a seat. He's getting a lane to the basket. Got to put a body on him.
There's Merritt with Frazier on him. And Sanders can't get it to go. Out of bounds, it'll go to Villanova. Good opportunities at both ends, but neither team can convert. As we head to another timeout here in New York City with the Golden Eagles of Marquette up by 4 on Villanova. Back here in New York, we've got Marquette leading Villanova 17-13. Dwayne Wade got a lot on his plate right now. He's a student, he's a basketball player, now he's a husband and a father as well. Here's how that has changed his life.
I think it had changed me is the way I approach things in life now. I'm more careful with a lot of things. Not saying I wasn't careful, but I think I'm more mature in different areas. I know I have a family now that anything I do reflects on my family also. It reflects on Marquette basketball, so I watch everything I do. My actions on the court with the ref nowadays. All this got to change because I got a young son watching me, watching everything I do. I got my wife watching everything I do.
Married his high school sweetheart. Zaire, his 9-month-old son, scored 88 points in one day in high school. 45 in the morning and 43 in the evening. A one-day performance for Richards High School in Chicago. That's not too bad, huh?
Not bad at all. And he has been strong here early tonight. I tell you, nothing, I don't care how good you are on the basketball court, nothing brings you back to earth like the sound of a screaming baby at 3 in the morning. That'll straighten you out.
I'll tell you this, he had 88 points in one day. I didn't have that in a career.
Wade getting a bit of a breather on the bench. He'll play a whole lot of minutes. They're missing a backcourt player, a freshman, Karen Bradley, who would back up at both spots. So they are thin in the backcourt. Bradley is out for a few weeks with an injury as Snowden, Morano's one home. And look out, Villanova, which was struggling early, they're back within a deuce.
Snowden played a lot of point last year, but he's really a second guard because he's got a scorer's mentality, and he also has experience.
Wait till Villanova gets Gary Buchanan back, their leading scorer from a year ago, 18 points per game. He's out with a knee injury. He was iffy to go tonight. They're not going to play him. They hope to have him back in a week.
He led the nation in free throw shooting, 91%. Unbelievable.
And Villanova's going to have a whole lot of options putting the ball in the basket. Shot clock down to 4. Diener sees it, fires and hits.
That's good inside-outside action. Good inside-outside action. Jackson's presence inside draws people. He brings the ball back outside to an excellent perimeter long-range shooter in Travis Diener.
Diener shot 44% from three-point range last season.
Nice ball movement. Doing a good job moving the basketball.
Ball's going to go against Villanova. Ricky Wright is called for the foul. We're here for the AT&T Wireless Classic, Game 1 of Night 2. Dan Schulman, Dick Vitale, Jay Billis courtside with you. Marquette and Villanova, Texas and Georgia still to come. Reese Davis and Digger Phelps are here as well, providing the studio support. You'll see them at halftime and between games 1 and 2. Last night, Conference USA beat the Big East. Memphis over Syracuse. Now Marquette trying to do the same thing here on night 2.
I tell you, they play for a lot of pride. These conferences really talk about these kind of matchups during the pre-conference schedule. See Diener trying to utilize that screen. Good job stepping out by Villanova.
Got a big man on him now in Frazier again. The shot clock winding down.
Not a good shot. Trying to shoot the ball over a 6'9" player. That's his expertise. Jason Frazier is a shot blocker.
Boy, did that get him into the game and get the Villanova fans into the game as well.
They called him the Amityville Horror when he played up there in Amityville because he was a horror to all the opponents. There he is. Says, "Thou shalt not enter thy lane." That's the first commandment he's saying, playing defense. Look at him emotionally. I like that. Show some feeling. Show some passion.
Didn't show anybody up. Just showed some passion.
That's something I've never been able to do, is get away from being a shy, introverted guy.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Try to help me. 24th year. I hope I get there.
Look, now, how about the passion on that guy, Jay Wright? He's the same way.
Better than that. How about his hair? I'd love to have that hair. Oh, I'd love to have hair. Never mind that hair. Oh, Jay, look at that
I know,
hair.
between him and Billis, you and I got to get out of here.
Oh, wow.
From the wing, Chapman into the game, hits a 3. Joe Chapman, a freshman from South Village, Illinois, knocks one down.
Great job of ball reversal. If you swing the ball, you'll break down the defense. Chapman's going to get minutes now because of the fact that Bradley is injured. Look at that ball reversal.
Yeah. Second time in a row they've done that.
Yeah, they do a great job swinging it side to side. So you're going to watch how to reverse the basketball. Right here. Freeze it right here. See, right here. Now he's looking ready to swing that ball over to the other side of the floor and catch the defense. See how he swings it over the side? You got a wide open shot just by making that one extra pass.
Some of the big guys, by the way, getting into some foul trouble. Robert Jackson has 2 for Marquette, and Ricky Wright has 2 for Villanova. And neither one of them in the game right now. Snowden finds Sullivan on the baseline from London, England. And over to go for Ray. Floater won't go, and a strong rebound there for Terry Sanders.
Sanders, a kind of tenacious player inside. They need him to be very active on the interior and rebounding.
Diener trying to get the ball inside. Now some dribble penetration, but he can't get the roll.
Good rebound. What a great outlet.
Yeah.
That was a quick outlet by Frazier. That's another area of his game that he excels in.
Tough catch, Sullivan. The follow is good. Third offensive rebound and put back for Andrew Sullivan.
Sullivan with that left-handed tip.
He's a guy last year averaged 5.7 points per game. He's already got 6 here tonight. Now they hit the floor for the loose ball, and they come up with it.
I tell you, both these teams play with a lot of passion. They play with a lot of emotion, and that really reflects their coaches' personalities.
Exactly right. Coming up tomorrow, ESPN and ESPN2 have a couple of great Big Ten matchups at noon Eastern on ESPN. Number 5 Iowa at 10-1 looks for its first perfect Big Ten season since 1922 when the Hawkeyes take on Minnesota. On ESPN2, Wisconsin will battle 8-2 Michigan. Of course, the Wolverines hopefully not thinking ahead too far to their game against the Buckeyes next week. 23-17 Marquette. Sumter misses the jumper. Great block out there by Merritt. Who's going to get the ball, though? It'll go to the Wildcats.
You know, you mentioned Iowa there in football. I really believe the Hawkeyes, I'm just talking from a fan standpoint, not certainly an expert in terms of my guy Corso and Herb Street and Fowler, but I really believe that Iowa's the best team right now in the Big Ten. I really believe that. I think it's unfortunate they don't play Ohio State.
Now, let me ask you, aren't you glad we don't have to deal with the BCS or computers or anything like that when it comes to college basketball?
Exactly.
On the floor, and that's where they are right now. On the floor as Chapman gets the loose ball and a tie-up. There's the call. Energy for both teams early here tonight. Jason Frazier with his first big-time block. And then, how about another tap by Sullivan, keeping the Cats in it. 6-point lead, Marquette. Dan Schulman, Dick Vitale back here in New York. Jay Billis with us as well, and as part of Jay's traveling tour through a lot of college programs. You get a chance to visit with Jay Wright. And Jay, what has Jay Wright done for this Villanova program?
Well, actually, Dan, this fall I've spent time at the practices of both Marquette and Villanova, two of the finest young coaches in America, and Tom Crean and Jay Wright. What Jay Wright brings to Villanova, I think, is great energy and enthusiasm. He's an outstanding teacher, and he's taught this team well. They're young, they're going to make mistakes, but he gets them playing hard and together. Right now in the last huddle, he talked to them about their defense and playing more as a unit, talking more and making sure they're in the right defense. They're going to try to keep the ball out of the hands of Travis Diener when he's on the floor.
I think there's two keys in coaching. Number one, getting kids to understand how to play hard and play with intensity and passion. And number two, how to play unselfishly. If you can get them to do that, you're going to win your share of games.
It is Sumter very long with that jumper, and Chapman comes up with a rebound. Well, I think you made a great point, Dick, that these teams reflect the personalities of their coaches. Tom Crean, intense and hardworking, and Jay Wright also intense with that that infectious energy as well that seems to be permeating into his players.
And they're not going to recruit kids that don't fit the puzzle that they're trying to build.
6-point lead for Marquette, the season opener for both of these teams. They haven't met since 1980 when Villanova won a game in the NCAA tournament against the then Marquette Warriors. Shot clock down to 3.
Good job defensively by Villanova.
Wade gets it off in time but can't hit the shot. And now we've got a foul going against Villanova.
Great job defensively by Villanova in that sequence, but unfortunately they come up with a foul. You know, think about it. He replaced, when you talk about Jay Wright, Steve Lapis. Steve Lapis won over 60% of his games in 9 years. Now at the University of Massachusetts. Bottom line is Villanova, when we think about some of the success, what a great tradition they have in basketball. Rolly Massimino, who could ever forget when he pitched that perfect game, man, in 1985 to cut the nets down against Georgetown and the Hoyas.
They missed 6 shots the entire game, 22 of 28, as they beat heavily favored Georgetown. Travel on merit. Now, at the other end as well, Marquette is really putting things together equally as well. And Jay, tell us about your time with Tom Crean earlier this fall.
Well, Tom Crean, as you guys mentioned, is not only intense, he's extraordinarily well prepared. I was in the room the other night when he was watching film with his team. They must have had 70 tapes of Villanova over the past few years, and he and his assistants went through every one of them. As detailed a scouting job as I have seen in college basketball. And that's what Tom Crean brings every day, and that is hard work and enthusiasm to his job.
And I think he learned a great deal working for Tom Izzo, who's one of the Rolls-Royce coaches now in basketball, as Diener shows his shooting ability. See, that's the one area of the game that he has going for him, the ability to make the perimeter shots. A lot of point guards, unfortunately, can dribble, can penetrate, but can't make shots, Dan.
Boy hands it off to the other end, and the Cats will get to the line, but that's the second of 3 of the night already for Travis Diener, just a sophomore, and he can really spread the floor with that jumper.
Yeah, he can shoot the jumper. You know, I spoke about a week ago down in Menasha, Wisconsin, with a great bunch of people, Jim Brown and the Blue Jays, and they told me they stopped him in high school, man. They used to play against him. He was from the Fox Cities area up there in the Menasha area, and they said they held him to like 38.
Got a little something going on his chin that we didn't see from him last year. Jay, what can you add about Diener?
Well, Travis Diener, a lot of people thought that Cordell Henry's loss last year was going to be really difficult for Marquette to overcome, and Henry was an outstanding player. But Diener is not only a fine shooter, he does not make mistakes. He's always under control. He may not have blow-by ability to penetrate, but he is not going to turn the ball over, and that's key for a point guard.
got great basketball family as well. Cousins all playing all over the place. He can shoot the rock, baby. He can flat out shoot the rock. Light it up with the area code jump shot. Oh, baby, they're dancing in Milwaukee. Travis Diener shooting the rock.
3 threes already for Diener, 2 on back-to-back possessions. And the Golden Eagles are on a 12-2 run to open up their largest lead of the night.
There he is, looking right at the defense. Say, hey, nobody going to play me? I'm just going to get that great rotation, the great follow-through, and I'm going to knock it down. Yes, sirree. He can shoot the rock. I love guards that can make shots. Yeah. Unfortunately, there are a lot of guards, as I said earlier, they can do everything, get to the basket, penetrate, but they can't complete the play.
Well, in our second game tonight, TJ Ford, one of the truly brilliant point guards in America, he can get to the basket, he gets his teammates involved, but last year he didn't shoot the ball particularly well from outside, but we've been told he worked on that, and we might see a different TJ Ford, just like we saw a new and improved Mo Williams last night for Alabama.
That's a great point, Dan, because last year TJ led the nation in terms of assists. First freshman ever to do that. Just like last year, the first freshman ever to lead the nation in scoring was Jason Conley of VMI. But he has worked on his range. Hey, I'll tell you one thing. You're not going to get by and be a special player when you're knocking down 15%. And that's what he shot last year. I believe it was 8 for 33.
Now, Travis Diener with 3 threes on the night already. A 12-point lead for Marquette. And let's see how the Wildcats respond. Remember how young they are. Always multiple freshmen on the floor for Villanova. Tough catch inside. Marcus Austin powers his way up. A sophomore from Irvington in New Jersey will go to the line for 2.
He's got some good moves. Played a little bit against Connecticut last year. Drew a couple of fouls on Okafor, who's a special shot blocker for Jimmy Calhoun's club. But they're looking to give this kid 10 to 15 minutes a night. Has size. He's got to learn how to complete the play on the inside.
With Frazier and Austin, they need some size inside. Brooks Sales, a very dependable inside player, using up his eligibility. Frazier with tremendous upside. Dick, we see again tonight what we saw last night. Teams really shooting free throws terribly here in their first games of the season.
Well, you hope it's the early jitters, but the bottom line, we saw Syracuse go out with an L because their superstar was unable to make some free throws, and he is a special talent. Carmelo Anthony, a special player.
Dwayne Wade gives it up again to Merritt, gets it back. Look at this move, but it's blocked underneath. Don't know if that was Frazier, maybe Austin got a piece of it.
Got to show some patience here offensively.
He's swinging around again. Ray from the corner for 3, and he airballs it.
Did a great job of reversing the basketball. Oh, there's a contact there.
Yeah.
No question about that foul.
Diener takes a bump from Randy Foy. That's one way to slow him down. Our second game tonight, the final game of the AT&T Wireless Classic, benefited Coaches versus Cancer. TJ Ford and the number 5 Texas Longhorns, the loaded Longhorns. Are they ever deep? Taking on number 16 Georgia, Damian Wilkins, the transfer from North Carolina State, going to make his Bulldog debut here tonight.
I'll tell you, Rick Barnes told me today, he said, this is the best team I have ever coached. I have depth, I have personnel that I can really utilize in many different ways, and he said, we're going to have a heck of a year. Very confident.
And the Big 12 is going to have a heck of a year with Oklahoma and Kansas and Texas, all elite teams.
Also watch out for Missouri and Texas Tech. Don't underestimate the general, Robert Montgomery Knight.
Diener is stripped at the last moment by Foy. The ball is going to stay with Marquette. It looks like maybe the game plan right now, Dick and Jay on Diener, is to try to body him a little bit, see if he can rattle him that way.
Right now, Villanova's got to get a little spurt to get some momentum mentally and psychologically going into that halftime.
Let's go to Jay.
You're exactly right, Dan. That's exactly what Villanova wants to do, is try to be as physical as they can with Diener, but he can absorb a bump. He's gotten stronger over last year, and Dwayne Wade is one guy who is very strong inside, one of the most versatile players in the country.
I have a feeling I'm going to see Dick on SportsCenter in a few days talking about the most underrated backcourt in America, and he's going to be talking about Travis Diener and Dwayne Wade.
Well, I'll tell you, Dwayne Wade is certainly one of my top 10 players in the nation when you talk about the best PT peers in the land.
Boy, with a nice open look. And the jumper long for Sullivan. They cannot knock down the outside shot.
Poor job of shooting the basketball, getting opportunities, but not converting.
Diener to Wade. Kick it out. Big man Merritt for 3. Marquette is 5 for 10 from three-point range tonight.
That was all created by the driving ability of Dwayne Wade. His penetration ability, Dan, created the opportunity for Merritt.
A 16-point lead, largest of the night for the Golden Eagles. Ray with a strong move, no finish. Loose ball off to Foy, and the floater is short. They can't buy a bucket. And now Marquette with numbers. It's Diener for three. And Ricky Wright is called for the foul, and that is going to be number 3 on Villanova's most important interior player.
I tell you, I think they really miss Buchanan. His experience, Gary Buchanan, a senior, a guy that can shoot the basketball. He's had it tough, and then he suffered a fracture of his thumb on October 14th. Then he had an MCL injury on the 25th, and then yesterday he re-injured another knee. I mean, he hurt another knee as well, his other knee, and the bottom line is they decided to hold him out.
Wright sits down with his 3rd foul as Frazier checks back into the game. For more on the Buchanan injury, again, let's go to Jay.
Dan, I happened to be at the Villanova practice in Philadelphia when Gary Buchanan got hurt, and I can tell you it was an awfully silent practice once he went down. They are going to rely very much on their seniors, Ricky Wright and Buchanan. Buchanan out with the injury, Wright with foul trouble. It's awfully difficult to get senior leadership when your senior leaders aren't on the floor.
There's Gary Buchanan, 18 points per game. It's hard to replace that.
Well, he's also the nation's leading free throw shooter, 91% on the line. He's like automatic. Look at those numbers. Tough numbers to replace.
And there's the other guy they need to replace momentarily, or right now, because Ricky Wright's got 3 fouls, so we won't see him for the rest of the first half. And Villanova's already down 16 points. Make it 15 as Austin knocks down the first free throw.
I'll tell you one thing, really impressed with Marquette. I was at practice today, their intensity, the way they played together, and Villanova really meeting a team that is prepared in every way possible. They got some experience, they got some youth. I mean, this Marquette team is certainly going to be one of the premier teams in Conference USA. But don't count out Louisville this year. Rick Pitino's kids.
Travis Diener lighting it up from outside again and again for the Golden Eagles so far early. His outside shooting has propelled Marquette to a 14-point lead over Villanova. Marquette in command, leading by 15, 3:17 to go in the first half. Dick's going to show us how the Golden Eagles set up some of those open looks.
We're going to watch right here the All-American drive into the lane and kick the ball back out for a shot. Watch Wade now. There's the penetration. And now, wait, hold on, freeze it. See, he gets everybody around him. Look at all the white shirts. But here's the open teammate. And that's where the ball's going, and it's going right in there, baby. There it is. Kick it out. Mr. Merritt. And that's why Dwayne Wade, so unselfish, is a special player. And as you said earlier, Dan, led the team in scoring and also in assists. Right. And that was an example of his unselfishness for an All-American.
You talked about it, and this is not implying in any way that Carmelo Anthony was selfish last night, because he was not. But sometimes you said, hey, everybody's standing around just watching him do his thing. The Marquette players aren't standing around. They know if they do their thing, they'll get the basketball.
Yeah, with Carmelo, I thought it was like the Kodak man. Everybody taking pictures, watching him do his thing instead of getting active. He's a special talent.
Yes,
I love Carmelo Anthony. I mean, 27 in his debut, and he'll be a better free throw shooter. Remember, he was a little fatigued, I thought, as well, coming down that stretch of that game.
Played almost 40 minutes, added 11 rebounds as well. Steve Novak misses a 3.
And that's his
rebound of Villanova.
Novak came in as Mr. Basketball out of Wisconsin.
Wade gives it up again, blocked from behind. But the ball is out of bounds. It'll go to Villanova.
I almost get the feeling that he likes giving the ball up as much as he likes shooting it. I mean, there's an example. A lot of guys with big-time numbers would have taken that ball one-on-one and would have tried to go to the rack with it.
Marquette by 14.
Villanova's going to have a strong 2 minutes here to have a chance to win this basketball game.
Sullivan looking for Frazier, now dribbles down, throws up a prayer, and the rebound to Wade. Not a good look there for Sullivan.
No, had no shot to go in there. The angle was very poor.
Villanova without a field goal in the last 6 minutes. Sanders kicks it to the wide open man. Novak, the shooter. Another three-pointer for Marquette.
Nothing like shooting the rock. He came in with the big-time reputation. He and Diener have the reps as guys that can shoot the rock, and there's an example. Steve Novak. That'll earn you some PT playing time.
And at 6'10", he's going to be a matchup nightmare for some teams in Conference USA.
Hey, Jay, you got to like the shooting ability of Diener and Novak.
Both outstanding shooters, Dick, but it's been interesting. Villanova coming into this ball game. Jay Wright wanted to make sure his team got out in transition to get some easy baskets because he didn't want to have to grind it out against Marquette's half-court defense. And with the exception of a few plays when they've gotten some easy stuff off offensive boards and in transition, they've had to grind it out, and it's been very difficult for the Wildcats to score, Dick.
I'll tell you one thing. I think of Marquette, and I think of Butch Lee when he played there out of New York City, Player of the Year. George Thompson, who's doing the games on radio here, was the first superstar recruited by Al McGuire at Marquette. And the beat went on. They had so many great teams with Earl Tatum and company. We used to have some wild battles there.
Yeah. Coming up at halftime, Maurice Davis, Digger Phelps getting ready. More analysis for Digger. We'll have to turn the lights on. Which one is Digger?
I'll tell you,
why are there three of them?
Well, Digger had some great battles. Digger had some great battles with Al McGuire. In fact, Digger ended a great winning streak that Marquette had at home.
Other sports news also coming up with David Lloyd. We'll send you to Reese and Digger for a look ahead to the second game and a look at the first half of this game as well.
I want to know if I said it the way Digger wrote it out for me, because he wrote it out and handed me a note that he stopped the winning streak of Marquette. Digger, did I say it the way you wanted me?
That's out of character for Digger. I can't see that. Novak hit a three last time down the floor. Well, the big guys can shoot it for Marquette, and the little guy with the ball right now, we know what he can do.
1-4 offense.
Diener tries to duck down to Sanders.
Not a good look.
Tomorrow, don't miss the undefeated and second-ranked Buckeyes of Ohio State taking on Illinois. Maurice Clarett, iffy with a shoulder problem right now, or Chris Sims, number 3 Texas, battling Texas Tech. Other regional action as well. Check local listings for the game in your area. For everybody in Columbus, remember, Dick Vitale said Iowa is right now the best college football team in the Big Ten.
Oh, I think they're terrific. I'd love to see him play against the Buckeyes, but I love Maurice Clarett. Hey, Cliff Kingsbury, watch out down here in Texas.
Randy Foy knocks one down. Finally, Villanova with a little bit of offense, but look at the mountain they still have to climb here against one of the best defensive teams in America the last couple of years, Marquette.
Randy Foy really going to be a good player at Villanova.
On a travel, boy, great feed from Merritt, and Townsend just indecisive with the basketball.
Yeah, last year you mentioned defense. They only allowed 58.9 to lead the Conference USA.
Twice they held the opposition in the 30s in a game. You know, we talked about this with Oklahoma last night. Alabama the same way. Michigan State the same way. When you play Marquette, you wake up the next morning, you know you've been in a game.
Well, you know, Jerry Tarkanian went to watch them practice, and he told me, he said their effort at practice is so special. And that was one of the great assets of Jerry. And a walking violation there created again by the defensive effort.
Marquette smothering Villanova with their defense right now, and Jay Wright just trying to figure out who to turn to offensively. Ricky Wright on the bench with 3 fouls. 4 freshmen have all seen some playing time. Is the point guard right now Foy? Is it Snowden? They're just not quite in sync here in game 1.
What a job Jay Wright did at Hofstra. He was one of the hottest commodities in America with Speedy Claxton, the little guy, now playing in the NBA.
Got his brother Michael now here at Villanova.
Also, Dunleavy's brothers
Baker.
here. We talked to Michael Dunleavy, the dad, today. He wants to coach again in the worst way. If I were a GM out there, man, of one of those NBA teams, get after Mr. Dunleavy. He taught me so much basketball here this morning. That's the son right there.
There he is. There, number 13. There's Baker.
Right
He's
there.
about 6'5". He's a little bit thicker than Mike was as a freshman. Not quite as tall, not quite as talented, but you know, you never know. When the way you saw Michael Dunleavy develop over the years, you say, hey, maybe Baker can blossom the same way that Mike did.
They're going to probably redshirt him, give him a chance to get a little bit more strength to his body, and then have him play. Michael getting adjusted now to life in the NBA. He'll be a solid NBA player. Just give him a little time.
Well, he was a special college player.
No question.
Final 10 seconds of an impressive first half for Marquette. Diener with the ball. Kicks it out for Townsend. Still loose as Merritt throws it up. It won't go down, and that's the end of the first half. Villanova held to 1 field goal in the last 8 minutes and 37 seconds. No such problems for Marquette, led by Travis Diener, who knocked down 3 3-pointers, part of a 14-point lead for Marquette. Jay Bill is standing by with Coach Tom Crean. Jay?
You know, Tom, with the exception of some transition baskets, offensive rebounds, your defense played pretty well. Were you pleased with it?
Well, I am pleased with it, but we've got to clean up the rebounding a little bit because they rebound too well to not block out, especially on the weak side.
You know, some of the question marks coming into this season about your team were at the point guard position without Cordell Henry. How do you think Travis Diener responded?
Well, I think he's responded very well, and he's got to go a lot of minutes, obviously, and Dwayne Wade may get some time at the 1 as well, but I thought he's responded very well in this first half.
What do you tell your team at halftime?
Well, I tell them we've got to clean up the rebounding a little bit. We've got to keep getting back. We're never going to let fatigue be an issue in this game, and we didn't execute real well at the end. We've got to make sure that we understand how to execute and finish a ball game.
Well, Tom, thanks. Good luck in the second half. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks, Jay. The sign of a great coach. He's not happy, and they're up 14, huh?
Well, I've never met a happy coach. What a suffocating job they did defensively. Really did a phenomenal job defensively.
Reese and Digger coming up with the halftime reports. Similar kind of a story here in game 1 on night 2 as there was in game 2 on night 1. You can see 37-23 Marquette leading Villanova at the half. We talked about it last night between Oklahoma and Alabama. Offense is flashy, defense wins. Alabama did it last night to Oklahoma, at least in the first 30 minutes or so of the game, and Marquette's defense has been very impressive here.
I tell you, it's been suffocating, just like this. See, deny and deny and deny. Not letting them get the rock, man. I'm not going to let them get the rock. Bottom line is 27% is not going to get it done. That's what Villanova shot in the first half. Reason? The defense of Marquette's been suffocating, and they play great team defense, not just individual defense, but as a unit. Whenever you force somebody to shoot 27%, you have a great chance to get to the winner's circle.
And if you're Jay Wright, you got to think, what does this team have to do to get the assists up and the turnovers down? They had 1 assist and 7 turnovers in the first half. Young guards sometimes lead to those kinds of numbers.
Look at that 0 for 6, man. That's blank city. I can go out there at 63 years old and shoot better than that. Wow.
Good effort there as we get the second half underway. Villanova in white and Marquette in blue. Conference USA beat Big East last night as Memphis defeated Syracuse. Marquette trying to make it a clean sweep for Conference USA. And when they lead at the break under Coach Crean, they generally bring it home.
I know a number of times during the year I will talk about the fact that the first 4 minutes after halftime is so important, especially to a team that's losing.
Is that a big-time move?
But when they have a special player like that, that makes it difficult to come from behind. Villanova's got to have a spurt.
Dwayne Wade now with 10, 16-point lead. Marquette baseline jumper goes down for Derek Snowden as we send it to Jay Billis. Jay?
Guys, I talked to both coaches as they came out of the locker room, and Marquette wanted to concentrate better on rebounding, getting to the ball, and keeping the pressure on this young Villanova team. For the Wildcats, they want to get better shots. They've been passing the ball around the horn, not getting much dribble penetration. They want to reverse the ball, make the Marquette defense move, and then attack gaps off the dribble. Guys?
Wade with a block after a great block at the other end by Andrew Sullivan.
Sullivan took away a sure layup by Wade. Here's Wade now, going to explode on that baseline, and here comes Sullivan with a great left hand. Most shot blockers who are really outstanding block with their left hand because you have a better advantage against a guy that's right-handed. You think of Bill Russell, you think of David Robinson. With that left hand.
You know what I like too, Dick? Wade's the guy who had a shot block. Some guys sag their shoulders and they don't run hard back the other end. It was Wade who hustled back and made the block at the other end.
That's why he's special.
Hey, Sullivan having a pretty special night. Again, he's doing some things he generally hasn't done his last 3 years.
Well, he deserved that deuce. After blocking that shot on Wade, he earned the right to knock that shot down.
Here's Diener, had 3 threes in the first half, and now he takes a hit from Foy, who will be charged with a foul, and that will be his second.
Trying to get that dribble penetration.
Townsend's going to inbound it for Marquette. Marquette lost better than 50% of its scoring and rebounding from last year. But with the acquisition of this guy, Jackson, the transfer for Mississippi State, they get a big body in the middle. Diener taking over at the point. Wade maybe even better than last year. Novak, the hot shooting freshman that Tom Crean has recruited. They look like they're going to have a good team again.
Well, they lost O'Dartney Blankson also. He transferred over to UNLV, where Charlie Spooner's got himself some nice players. They're going to have a Marco Polo specialist, a guy that's a transfer from Georgetown by the name of Demetrius Hunter this year.
Wasn't it 102 years ago? Had the dunk of the year?
Yeah, it's terrific.
For Georgetown.
You mentioned the future of Marquette. They signed Damian Mason, outstanding player. They also got a kid by the name of Brendan Bell. Remember his brother, Charlie Bell, outstanding player at Michigan State.
Wow, another Izzo Crean connection there.
Yeah, and James Matthews they signed as well from out of Denby High School in Detroit. 3 good recruits coming in.
Frazier with a rebound on the Jackson miss. 13-point lead for Marquette early in the second half. Foy at the point now for Villanova. Sullivan with a long jumper. That's not his game. And is it going to be Frazier or Wright? It's Ricky Wright, and it's his 4th. And that has been a real problem for Villanova. Their best players been unable to stay on the floor.
A real dilemma for Rick Wright's club right now. Ricky going to the sideline, and certainly Coach Jay Wright's team is the fact that they have not been able to get any kind of rhythm at all offensively against the suffocating defense of Marquette.
Marcus Austin into the game now to replace Wright. Townsend. Nice backdoor feed for Wade with a slam.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What elevation. You talk about an elevator man. Up and away. He just exploded on that baseline. He's a baseline beauty.
Terrific two-man game, too, because Wade started the play, gave it to Townsend, and then he got it back.
Watch this baseline move. I mean, look at that explosion. Oh. Wow. I'll tell you one thing. That guy has got some great bounce off the floor. It's like the Spalding ball. Remember the little pink ball?
Yeah.
I used to bounce it and used to bounce up there incredibly.
Another turnover charge to the Wildcats. That's their 8th of the night.
And again, gets down to that theme we talked about, Dan. The ability to get a good shot. They really have no rhythm, as we said earlier, on the offensive end. But that's because of the defensive effort of Marquette.
And again, the freshman presence in the backcourt. Snowden, the junior, comes in for Foy, the freshman, who's getting a bit of a lecture right now from Jay Wright. And he knows how good these players are going to be. They all come to Villanova with outstanding credentials and all good character as well, the Villanova coaches tell us. Look at the moves on Wade. Finds Townsend on the wing. It's a show right now by Marquette.
They are operating so well, executing, getting great offensive efficiency out of the half-court game. They're touching the floor. They're trying to duplicate what has been started down there at Duke.
Touch foul on the perimeter. Largest lead of the night right now for Marquette. Let's count white jerseys.
Look at Wade. Look at this here. He draws all white jerseys to him, and then he's the typical 3D man. You drive, you draw, and you dish the rock out to the open shooter.
Well, even if you've never seen Dwayne Wade play before, when we talked about how he led them in scoring and rebounding and assists and steals and blocks, you can see why. Just watching him play 23 minutes here tonight, he has done a little bit of everything already tonight.
Just listening to you, I think he's earned his scholarship. He's earned that room board, books, and tuition.
Just 20 years of age, a junior with a very bright future.
You know, I think one of the big questions facing Marquette in their future, can they keep Tom Crean on that sideline?
Ray from the corner. And you don't like to think about it because it's a great job, and he obviously loves the job, but young coaches have a habit of moving on to higher profile programs. You know, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. You know, Matt Doherty was the hot young coach one year. Bang, he goes to North Carolina. Tommy Amaker's the hot young coach, and bang, he goes over to Michigan. And Jay, you know very well, I mean, sometimes they stay forever, and sometimes they'll take 3 or 4 jobs.
You know, I'll tell you, Dan, for an athletic director, I think that's a great problem to have. Were I an athletic director, I would want my phone to ring off the hook every April, because that means I've got a great program, my coach is doing a great job, and people envy what we've got.
Yep, you're right. Even if it means opening up your wallet and having to spend a little more money to keep them.
That is part of the business. You got to spend. You got to spend money to make money.
Well, you know, basketball's so big at Marquette, they can spend the money to keep it. And they got a great program with great visibility. They're getting a lot of television exposure. Conference USA gives them that.
Well, here's Coach Tom Crean on what he thinks a perfect basketball game would be. Everybody draws a charge, everybody grabs at least 2 loose balls, and nobody commits any turnovers. Now, there's no such thing as a perfect game, but he's got to be pretty happy with what he's seeing here tonight.
He's sounding like the general, Robert Montgomery Knight, who's always striving for that perfect game.
Frazier's going to go to the line.
I think this is an unbelievable learning experience for the Villanova young diaper dandies. Their kids are getting a little experience into the world of college basketball, and you start to now go back to the gym tomorrow, and you start to say, you know what, maybe we're not as good as all the people said coming out of high school, in terms of the fact that we got to work together and really, really understand what Coach wants us to do and really bust our gut to be able to achieve the things we're trying to strive for.
You know, last night, Mark Godfrey talked about it, the Alabama head coach, about how this class that he's got now, they're all seniors, how they started as freshmen and took their lumps from some good competition. But year by year, they got better and better, and now he's reaping the fruits of all that from 3 years ago.
He's reaping the fruits, and he forgot to say one little thing with that statement. Maurice Williams is a sophomore, and he brought him along, and he's the best player on the team.
He buried the lead, did he? It's been Diener and Wade and Townsend, a real team effort tonight for the Golden Eagles against Villanova.
This kid's got a lot of shake and bake. He's got a lot of shake and bake. They would love him up at the Rucker, man. They would love him up at the Rucker. A Rucker, you haven't become a great player until they accept you at the Rucker in Harlem, in the playgrounds, on the pavement. TJ Ford played there, told me today he's going back again next year. There's the contact.
Well, I know you and I always want kids to stay in school as long as possible. Wade's a junior, but you look at him, he's got a pro game, Dick. I mean, he can do, it looks like, anything he wants to out there.
Yeah, he's got a pro body. He's got still a lot of part of his game. He has to work his range as a shooter. He has to prove he has a consistent range to be able to be really effective at the next level.
Sumter in for Ray.
He's going to have to take that ball, go out to the playgrounds, go out to a basketball facility, and just keep working and shooting.
Misses a couple of free throws, and it's out of bounds to the Wildcats. Let's go back to Jay.
You know, Dick, you were talking about what Dwayne Wade needs to do. I agree with you, work on his shot. Another thing I think he needs to work on is moving without the ball and getting his work done early. A lot of the scoring he does comes off of sets that Tom Crean designs, pick and rolls, and when he's got the ball in his hands for isolations. I think if he learns to move better without the ball, that maturity will really help him at the next level.
You know, Jay, we could say that basically as we see the wing jump shot knocked down here by Villanova. We saw that last night with Carmelo Anthony. I think that is a big problem with a lot of superstars who constantly have the ball in their hands, learning how to play without the basketball.
There's a big difference, I think, between being talented and knowing how to play. And you had better have a man's game when you step up in the NBA, because that's a man's league.
All you have to do is check the transactions and see all the great ones that get cut.
And Wade with another pretty nice move, splitting the defense there, feeding it down low to the baseline to Sanders, who's going to be rewarded with a trip to the free throw line.
You know, it pains me when I look at the transactions and I see guys waived and cut who didn't listen and stay in school. I mean, it hurts when I look and I see the name Marcus Taylor of Michigan State, and then he gets cut from a developmental league. I mean, I wonder what's the thinking process around him with the people that are advising him when he could have been in college this year and starred for Tom Crean's buddy, Tom Izzo.
Well, more and more often you hear coaches talking about a kid, they'll say he's got the right people talking to him, he's got the right people whispering in his ear, and sometimes the coaches can tell from the people around the kid whether or not he's worth pursuing. We're going to step aside. Marquette, strong frustration for Villanova from the get-go here tonight. Marquette is having their way with the Wildcats, leading by 15 here in the second half. Marquette Golden Eagles playing together on the floor and staying together. This is pregame action, and in the huddle as well during a timeout. It is a unit. There is togetherness on this Marquette team. Tom Crean, the head coach of Marquette, tells us what he learned about the importance of togetherness on a team from Oklahoma coach Kelvin Sampson.
Kelvin's always been good to me. We've become pretty good friends here over the last few years, and when I had a chance to watch him practice, I got a chance to see exactly why they win. And I came back to our team and I said, you know what, I think we work about as hard. I think we've got pretty good talent. I know they have very good talent. I don't think we're that far off. This was last year's team. I said, but they have a camaraderie amongst each other that's incredible. They have a true, we're going to give it up for each other mentality in everything that they do. And I think it really carries over.
And it looks like that's starting to carry over. It looks like Tom Crean's starting to build that into his program now.
Well, that's when we talk about that magical word, and we're not talking science. We talk about chemistry of a team. Everybody blended together, and I'm not talking about AU equals gold. I'm not talking about that now. I'm talking about players understanding roles, everybody wanting to bring some pride to the jersey they represent.
That's a little thing, but during practice today, somebody took a charge, and 9 other guys instantly were over there clapping and getting him back to his feet.
That is chemistry.
Yeah. They look like they've got it. Of course, it helps to have a superstar like Wade, too, huh?
And that helps to build chemistry as well. When you got a guy with those kind of legs that can get up there for that offensive tip like he just did.
14 points for Dwayne Wade. 17-point lead, Marquette, and now a reach-in foul committed by Sanders. And again, 3 of them bringing him back up onto his feet. Well, Jay, you played for some outstanding Duke teams, very talented. In your opinion, as a player, what is the role of chemistry and camaraderie on a championship caliber team?
Well, I think it's of vital importance. You have to have 5 guys out on the floor playing as one, and everybody's got to have each other's back. That's why communication is important, as we talked about at the top of this broadcast. And that's why I think I can relate to exactly what Jay Wright's freshmen are going through right now. When I was a freshman at Duke, I was in the #1 recruiting class with Johnny Dawkins, Mark Allery, David Henderson, and we went 11-17 our freshman year, starting 4 freshmen. And 4 years later, we were 37-2 as we entered the NCAA championship game. Now, sadly, Purvis Ellison took a ring away from us. That's why last night with Milt Wagner on the Memphis bench, I was trying to take his ring off him. He's got my ring.
Easy, Jay, easy.
Hey, wait a minute, 37-2. How did you guys lose 2 games? I mean, I understand that. You gotta fire the coach.
Sullivan, no. And another offensive rebound for the Wildcats. Wright, no. Frazier, no. But Villanova's got it again. Ray with a miss. Boy, they're getting on the glass, but they cannot put the ball in the basket.
Good effort right there on the offensive glass.
Another game coming up behind us. The final game of the AT&T Wireless Classic. Number 5 Texas, led by perhaps the quickest guard in the nation, TJ Ford, taking on number 16 Georgia. We were talking with a bunch of people from the Texas program about a game against Providence last year. John Linehan, the #1 speedster pest, we thought, on the perimeter in college basketball last year. And they said that Ford made Linehan look slow. Now, I can't picture that, but we're going to see for ourselves here tonight as we get a look at Ford. How quick is he?
Well, they say that nobody can play him head on, that there isn't a player in the world that he can't get by.
Jackson lays it up, can't get it in. Chases down the loose ball. Here come the Wildcats, 2-on-1. Couple of freshmen.
Give it up. Nice play.
Foy to Ray for the layup.
And why that really was executed in perfection. You stay a little wider than the 3-second area, so you force one guy to have a difficult time to play 2.
Randy Foy to a guy who's been through a lot. His father died when he was young, and his mother left when he was 6. Moved in with his grandmother, later lived with his aunt, went to a couple of different schools, and he's gone through more as a young man than anybody really should have to. There's a foul inside on Frazier.
I'll tell you, Jackson's so strong physically, taking a one-on-one move against Jason Frazier. I'll take a look right here. We're going to watch Mr. Jackson working on the inside. Oh, why no contact there? I mean, no contact. Where's the foul? Where's the foul on a big guy?
That's what Ricky Wright wants to know. Big guy's at the line right now, Robert Jackson.
You know, while I was in Menasha, Wisconsin last week, a bunch of beautiful, beautiful people up there. I got a chance to spend some time with a 7-footer who was on the list of, well, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Kansas, Arizona. His name was Brian Butch from out of Appleton, Wisconsin. Marquette was in the hunt as well. He has decided to stay home and go to Wisconsin, where Bo Ryan is building something special with that program. And I will tell you this, in the city of Milwaukee, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Remember what I'm telling you. They can be a team that creates problems in basketball. You remember that team. Bruce Pearl does an excellent job, and they got some outstanding talent in the league with Detroit, Butler.
What I didn't really realize, Dick, is how many good players come out of Wisconsin year after year. That they're, because Marquette obviously recruits heavily within the state. So does Wisconsin. So does Wisconsin, Milwaukee. So does Wisconsin, Green Bay. But there are a ton of good players coming out of the state of Wisconsin.
There's players all over. You just got to be able to go find them.
Yep. It'll go down, and Frazier's pumped up again.
Finally, Jason Frazier. See, I think they have to go with him. I think you got to put him on the floor, and you got to let him learn and really learn and experience what it's like playing major college basketball. Because he's got an excellent upside.
The foul is on Jackson, his fourth. He goes to the bench. Frazier goes to the line. The McDonald's All-American. And the key piece of this four-man recruiting class for the Wildcats this year. Again, all of them coming from the greater New York area. You've got Jay Wright, who coached at Hofstra. He knows New York City. Joe Jones, who coached for him at Hofstra and then also at Villanova before Wright got there. And Freddie Hill, who knows New Jersey as well as anybody. They're trying to get kids from all three states.
Well, Fred Hill does a great job. I can tell you that. I watched him over at Seton Hall as well. His dad's the outstanding baseball coach at Rutgers. They got a commitment out of Mike Nardi, an outstanding guard from out of St. Pat's and Elizabeth, where they have a freshman this year going to play, 6'9", by the name of Derek Character, getting a lot of publicity at 270.
Diener gets it back, launches a quick shot, and knocks down a long two.
He's got a beautiful touch. He really has great rotation on his shot. Excellent follow-through.
3 threes in the first half, a long two there, and a 16-point lead for Marquette. Snowden, no. And an uncontested rebound for Diener. They boxed out beautifully on that trip.
They pushed the ball up the court.
Rebound to Foy. Diener thought he had one there.
See, that was the area they thought they could beat Marquette. They thought with quickness they could beat them in transition. But Marquette's done a great job defensively in getting back and forcing them to play 5-on-5.
Snowden sheds Diener for a moment, but he's back in the play now defending Foy. And we've got a foul inside on Scott Merritt.
So many times, Dan, we see teams really break down in defensively in getting back in transition. And they allow teams to get the numbers against them. 4-on-3, 3-on-2. And when you give those opportunities up, it really reduces the chance to get to the winner's circle.
Well, one of the few bits of good news for Villanova is that's now the fourth foul on Merritt. So Robert Jackson and Scott Merritt, the two inside starters for Marquette, each on the bench with 4 fouls. And now Tom Crean having to go smaller and having to go deeper into his bench as he brings Chris Grimm, a freshman from Brighton, Michigan, into the game. Big guy at 6'10", but other than that, Marquette's a little bit smaller right now. Snowden finds Ray, little hesitation move. Again, they've got the moves, Dick. They just can't finish so far.
Not able to finish, not able to make shots. Really struggling shooting the basketball.
And a block is the call down to the other end.
I look, when I think about the Big East, you know, we think certainly Villanova with their young kids and going to be a little up and down. But also, hey, what about Pittsburgh and the expectations down there? I mean, forget about the Steelers and forget about the Pirates. I mean, Ben Howland and that gang, they're going to make all the noise in that city. Got a beautiful new arena. You got to love Brandon Knight. I mean, he's right there with the great point guards in America. Julius Page, so athletic. I mean, they really are going to have, I think, a phenomenal team. But also Connecticut, I think, is going to be better than a lot of the experts believe.
Well, Ben Gordon looks like he's going to be even better than he was last year. Okafor, too, an outstanding freshman season. That, by the way, was the 5th foul on Ricky Wright. The senior is gone scoreless in his season debut. 14 points, 8 rebounds per game last year. And just in foul trouble all night long. Never could get any rhythm going here tonight.
Well, the defense really did a great job beating them to the spot, not allowing them to get post position inside. Jackson established that right out of the gate against them, and it's just been a nightmare for him. It's one of those games, but he'll bounce back. He's too good a player. Those numbers don't lie. When you look at his numbers through his career, he just had a bad opening game. That means Bruiser Flint will have to pay for it when they play Drexel. Poor Bruiser, one of the nicest guys in the world. They're going to get an angry Villanova team before they head out to the Great Alaska Shootout, where the people treat you like royalty out there.
When's the last time you were at the Great Alaska Shootout?
It's been quite a few years because I've been coming here to New York to the big NIT.
You're right. They treat people beautifully up in Anchorage in that really tournament. Villanova's going to be there. Michigan State, Oklahoma State, another good field up in Anchorage. Another good performance for Marquette here in the second half. Diener hitting jumpers from all over, and the lead is 18. Jason Frazier making his Villanova debut here tonight at Madison Square Garden. The last time he was here was in the McDonald's All-American game. Now watch closely. Frazier is one of the guys in the white jerseys. The tap, then he gets it back and he dunks on the wrong basket.
Wow. Wow.
Good thing it's an exhibition all-star game, huh?
Can't believe a little embarrassment. I tell you, he's just going to have to be patient with his game. That'll be a nice experience for them going up to Alaska. They got a chance to play Michigan State most likely in a second round game. I mean, if they beat Loyola Marymount, which you would think on paper they should do it, but that's not the way the game's played. You got to play it on the court.
Splitting the D is Snowden. Finds Sullivan on the wing for 3.
How's this? 0 for 14.
Wow.
Our statistician whiz Johnny tells me 0 for 14. Unbelievable. You're not going to win. Guys, think about that. 0 for 14 shooting the 3. Take a look at the freshman here. Point production was.
They combined for 21. They had 63 points in Villanova's first exhibition game.
They are getting an education on how to play against a really tough defensive team. A very tenacious team that plays as a unit.
But as you've said, and the committee has made this very clear the last couple of years, there's not much point in playing Cupcake U anymore. You may as well go out and play some good teams. Jim Herrick, who coaches Georgia, who we're going to see in the next game, they made the NCAA tournament 2 years ago with a 16-14 record because of the strength of their schedule.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, they put such an emphasis on that today, and it's so important. I just feel bad for the teams like Butler and teams like that who don't get an opportunity to compete against the so-called giants. So it's very difficult for them to raise their RPI rating.
Well, and now as the story comes full circle, that's where the Alaskas and the Mauis are so important. That gives the Ball State a chance to play Kansas and UCLA. And again, the exempt status and the future of all these tournaments in a little bit of doubt right now, pending the NCAA's decision how to change them or if to change them at all.
Well, you're sharp, man. I like the way you come out with all those little theories. I mean, that's unbelievable.
You know what? Having been to Alaska 4 years and Maui 2, you develop a real soft spot for those tournaments and for the Ball States and programs like that.
Well, you saw the great games last year in Ball State with those unbelievable wins.
Midway through the second half, Marquette in command. Boy, you're down 18 playing against one of the best defensive teams in the country. You've got your work cut out for you.
And they scrap and claw, and if you look at their coach on a sideline, you think they're probably down 14, and that's just the kind of message he wants to send to them. We keep playing every minute like it's a tie basketball game. Look at the way he's working on the defensive end. They don't let you get easy shots. Every shot is challenged.
Sullivan into Frazier, and a foul as well.
Well, nice pass right there to get the open look for Frazier. Frazier.
He'll head to the line coming up tomorrow. ESPN and ESPN2 have a couple of great Big Ten matchups at noon Eastern. On ESPN, number 5 Iowa looking for a share of the Big Ten title when they take on Minnesota. Then Wisconsin against number 10 Michigan. The Wolverines are 8-2. College football Saturday on ESPN and ESPN2. For more information, log on to ESPN.com.
Oh, man, that's why there should be a playoff. And Iowa should be in the hunt. Penn State. I mean, they lost 2 heartbreaking games. I love football. I'm a college football fanatic as well. I'm just a sports junkie, man. I love
baseball,
sports.
everything. And what about hockey? That's what I want to know.
I don't know too much about red lines, blue lines.
You're going to get an education this winter. AT&T Wireless Classic. Dan Schulman, Dick Vitale, Jay Billis here at Madison Square Garden. Reese Davis, Digger Phelps as well. Marquette has clamped down on these Villanova freshmen, not allowed them to get many open shots. And truth be told, Villanova, when they've had open shots, they haven't hit those either.
Doing a great job now, taking some time off the clock, trying to get an isolation for Wade. Trying to get a little isolation, one-on-one.
Pull up from 15, and he rattles it home.
Spread the court, go one-on-one, put it in the hands of your All-American, and it's showtime. You know, you mentioned hockey. I don't know much about it, but I do know this. They got some of the greatest athletes you can ever be around when you watch Lemieux and all those guys.
Here's Frazier, spins through the double team. Trying to chase down the loose ball. You can't fault the effort. Villanova's been on the glass all night long, and that's really been the only big concern for Tom Crean tonight.
Little Lionel Richie all night long, and they've been missing all night long.
Sure have. Shooting percentage is terrible tonight for the Wildcats. They are 14 for 53, 26%.
0 for 14 shooting threes.
Yep.
I mean, there's Wade just taking you one-on-one, getting you hanging up in the air, shoots right over the top of the defense. He's got a good medium range jump shot. He's just got to extend that range.
Still a 17-point lead, and Wade at the line.
What I like about Wade is the fact that he plays within the team concept. He doesn't jock it up. He plays as a team player. He understands what a good shot is. So many kids have no clue what a good shot is.
Misses the front end. Let's go to Jay Billis. Jay?
You know, one of the things that makes Dwayne Wade so hard to guard is he's got great shape. He does a great job with head and shoulder fakes, getting the defender to go one way, but staying under control and then going the other. Very difficult to guard.
Sumter with the air ball. The story continues for Villanova. Frazier's going to go to the line. But how many air balls have we seen from Villanova here tonight? Meanwhile, the other end, here's the shake and bake that Jay was talking about. There's some more of that camaraderie. You really got to like the way this program is going, and I think you made the point about Tom Crean, and Jay talked about it as well. He's going to start getting a lot of national attention. They got to the tournament last year as a #5 seed. They were knocked out by Tulsa, a 2-point game, and certainly, as you've talked about, everybody knows the kind of program that Tulsa has right now. But if Marquette makes a deep run into the tournament, that seems to be the kind of thing, all of a sudden, that's the new hot coach, whoever took his team deep into the tournament.
No question. You know, you talk about a team like Tulsa. The last time we had a mid-major team in the Final Four was 1979. That was Larry Bird, and we had the University of Pennsylvania there as well. But I'm going to tell you, there's a great chance this year. Western Kentucky, Tulsa, Gonzaga, Pepperdine, those clubs are going to be dangerous. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. How are you going to stop that? I mean, he's up and away, baby. He is just the elevator man, a skywalker.
16 for Wade, and he has scored in every imaginable fashion here tonight, with the exception of knocking down threes. And this call is going to go against Snowden. It's going to be an offensive foul against Snowden, who's just now realizing it and can't believe it as he gets tagged with his 4th. Wade doing it at both ends of the floor.
Well, we have seen a combination today by Marquette. Great offensive execution and defensive. Take a look at that. Look how high he is. Just flying. The defense breaks down. They don't see ball, you man. You have to see both, my friends.
Wade abusing the Wildcats right now. They're getting ready to go as they take on Texas in Game 2 tonight. Here with the AT&T Wireless Classic coming up next, right here on ESPN2. In between games, back up to the studio guys, Reese Davis and Digger Phelps. Wall-to-wall dominance by Marquette tonight, really smothering defense, and Dwayne Wade showing why he is one of the best players in America.
Let him spread the court. Get a little isolation, looking to drive, draw a dish, take some time off the clock, make it difficult. They get great spacing, so they don't allow you to give a lot of help. They spread 15 to 17 feet apart.
Diener with the jumper, not this time. Jackson with the rebound. Jackson again, and he'll go to the line. Great effort by Robert Jackson.
Notice how they're always in the right position to rebound. You want to have people to formulate a triangle, so you have 2 guys on the box. You want some help off on the weak side. See Jackson right now on the weak side? He's got to go up a little stronger with that late on the glass. He earned a chance to go to the charity stripe.
A couple of years ago at Mississippi State, he averaged better than 11 points and 7 rebounds per game. So Marquette, this is no run-of-the-mill transfer. This is, as you said, a 5th-year senior with starting experience in the SEC who comes home to help Marquette in the middle.
And the SEC, certainly, he's playing against big-time competition on a regular basis when you think of that conference. By the way, Tuesday night, you and I are going to be down in Gainesville.
Down in Gainesville, right?
See the Rowdy Reptiles, see Billy Donovan's team a little short-handed right now, playing against a good, and I'm telling you, a good Louisiana Tech team. Keith Richard and that gang, they had a solid year last year, finishing 3rd in a WAC.
That's the 2nd night of action in the NIT, which is all, of course, going to culminate here in this building the week after that. But some of the teams in the NIT, in addition to Florida, Kansas is involved, Xavier, North Carolina, Rutgers, Stanford. So we'll see who the Final Four is going to be.
Nice angle right there. There's the quickness of Frazier down on the inside, getting the conversion. He's going to be a very good player at Villanova. Make no doubt about it. He, Ray, Boyd, they're going to be very good players. Sumter.
With a foul under the basket. Frazier is starting to show more and more here in the second half, but Villanova is quickly running out of time.
They'll be able to get some help when they get Buchanan. That's going to be a big asset when he steps on the floor with his shooting ability.
Now Frazier's going to be asked to replace Brooks Sales. You can see what he's done in the second half. He's really picked it up. But Brooks Sales, not flashy, nowhere near flashy, but 10, 11 points, 8, 9 rebounds, good defense. Those are hard things to replace.
Let me tell you, don't make a big thing out of Brooks Seals, okay? Because Brooks Seals is not even the best in his family.
I know.
Nikisha, his sister, used to take him one-on-one and take him to the cleaners. She played for Gino Auriemma. What a program he has up in Connecticut. They went unblemished last year. I'm only teasing you, Brooke. Dan is right. They're going to miss you. But your sister, man, she's something else.
Well, this lead's been consistently between about 16 and 19 for Marquette the last 5 or 6 minutes.
I like the way Frazier's trying to get free inside. Spin move.
Look at the pressure, how far they extend it.
They really get in your face. They really do. They love playing on the defensive end. He has sold it. See, I think it's important for a coach to be able to sell to his kids a certain philosophy. And Tom Crean has been able to sell to his team the fact that defense wins games. They have bought into his belief. He's like a salesman, man. He has flat out sold it, just like Tom Izzo has sold it up at Michigan State.
He's got to be a good salesman because a lot of kids who were superstars in high school want to get to college and run and gun and shoot and score, and you need a certain type of kid to buy into this philosophy.
They have bought into it. You know, you mentioned the NIT. You mentioned North Carolina. I know a lot of people are wondering what to expect. I'm going to tell you something. When they put those freshmen on the floor, and Feldman, May, and McCants, who didn't play, I know they got beat by the Nike All-Stars, but let me tell you, they didn't play with McCants, they didn't play with Manuel. I think that Carolina, I think pivotal for them early is they have to come to New York. They got 2 chances possibly at home with Penn State, and they'll most likely play Rutgers at their facility as well. And if they can get out here, it'll give them a big build up. Yep. It'll make the kids feel good, feel excited again. I think it's an important early part of this season for a team like North Carolina to get away from the blues they suffered last year.
And the Carolina-Penn State game will be on ESPN2 Monday night, part of ESPN's coverage of the preseason NIT. There will be regional coverage from around the country so that you'll get a chance to look in on the teams that interest you the most.
Robert Jackson shooting at medium-range jumper. Averaged 11 points, Dan, you're right, 2 years ago. But the bottom line is his sophomore year, he averaged 13 points and 8 rebounds.
Ray from the corner misses the 3. Good weak side rebound by Sumter. Boy, again, the story of this game, not to belabor the point, is they have done a great job on the glass, especially the offensive end, but the Wildcats just can't hit shots.
Yeah, they haven't been able to make the 3. The 3 changes the complexion of a game. We said that so many times last year. Here's another example. Solid perimeter defense by Marquette has really blanked Villanova from the 3-point line.
You know, and watching Tom Crean, even with 5.5 to go in a big lead, Crean is working his players as hard now as he did the first minute of this game. Look at the intensity.
Look at him. Hey, Tom, relax, man, relax. See, Al McGuire right now, if he was on the sideline, he'd have the flower on. He'd be looking at the top of the crowd. He'd be playing and say, Hank Ravens, you get all the credit, you coach.
Back here inside Madison Square Garden, adjacent to Penn Station here in Midtown Manhattan. Dan Shulman and Dick Vitale getting set for yet another game. Number 5 Texas and number 16 Georgia, the 4th and final game of the AT&T Wireless Classic, benefiting coaches versus cancer. Wait for something, given the way that he's played here tonight. Huh?
I mean, they started talking about the Heisman back in June. How come the kid named Brian Banks is not mentioned for the Heisman? What a year he's had for Iowa, man. I don't see his name mentioned anywhere.
How about Wade for Wooden or Wade for Naismith or one of those awards? He's on both of those lists preseason.
People are still in that football mentality.
Yeah. Kelvin Sampson talked about that. He goes, it's tough for Oklahoma fans to pay attention to us until the football team is done.
That's first bad shot he's taken all night long and had to with the clock running down.
Nearing the 5-minute mark. Foy launches a 3. Are they still 0 for 16 from 3-point range? Hey, looks like a wide receiver. Maybe getting the Heisman on that play.
I'll tell you one thing, I'll bet he could be one heck of a defensive back.
Yeah.
I remember for years the Dallas Cowboys recruited guys that played basketball. Remember Cornell Green?
Mm-hmm. He looked great going out for that pass. Ball was knocked out of bounds, and Marquette's going to retain possession.
He's smart. He doesn't want nothing to do with that helmet. Are you kidding me? And all that contact. He said, I don't need that. I'll put the little shorts on, play some hoops.
Yeah, not banging quite as hard. Look at that move to keep it alive. And a block by Frazier. He has shown a lot of the defensive end.
Yeah, he's got great potential. You and I talked about his upside, his quickness, his size. He's just got to get familiar playing against better competition and really getting some confidence. They got to get some wins so the kids get a little confidence.
Talk to me a little bit about Conference USA. You saw Memphis last night. You've seen Marquette, Cincinnati, Louisville. Tell me about the conference.
Well, you know, you still got to go through Cincinnati. My guy Bob Huggins talked to him about a week and a half ago. He's as enthusiastic as ever, and we're so happy that he's been able to beat that situation with the heart attack. We just wish to slow down a little bit, but you know they're going to be very formidable. Jason Maxiell will have a great year for him. They got to replace Steve Logan, and that's going to be tough. But the conference, I think Louisville's going to be much better. Look at that kid shoot. That's Novak. He and Diener can flat out shoot the three.
They have been outstanding from outside, and Villanova has been awful. Look at those numbers.
0 for 16. Wow. Incredible.
Usually turnovers the big problem for Villanova. Tonight, they've actually kept them down to a manageable level. The rebounding's been very good for Villanova, but the shooting has been horrendous.
You know, Dan, think about it mathematically. I mean, I'm a dummy. I couldn't figure 101 equals 2. But the bottom line is, you make 4 or 5 of those, and you can shoot poorly and go 5 for 16. You're in a ball game.
You're right back in the game. There's a wild turnover there committed by Boyd. And a timeout on the floor with 3:35 to go. It has been an opening night education for these young Wildcats. Last night here with the guard of the 4 teams who are playing tonight got a chance to be themselves, if you will, on a 989 sports game on PlayStation 2. It was Marquette against Villanova, and then it was Texas against Georgia, but it was a virtual basketball game as they battled it out in game mode last night. They're battling it out on the court here tonight. PlayStation 2 and a copy of NCAA Final Four 2003 will be presented to the American Cancer Society and donated to a hospital in the winning school's hometown. In each of the battles that they had, the 4 pairs of schools, and we shouldn't forget, yes, this is the AT&T Wireless Classic, benefiting coaches versus cancer and raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for research and hopefully one day the prevention of that disease. Talked about it a lot last night with respect to Jim Boeheim and all the great work that he has done up in Syracuse, more than anybody else in the country, as far as I'm aware, to raise money for Coaches versus Cancer.
And it was all started, we said last night, with Norm Stewart and his gallant battle, courageous battle against cancer. And Jimmy has beaten prostate cancer and does an amazing job. One of the beautiful guys in coaching, Jim Boeheim.
Wade hangs, can't get it. Townsend crashes for the rebound. And there's Jackson laying it in. What an effort by these kids for Marquette.
Somebody going to tell them that they're winning by 20 and they're not losing. I mean, they're playing with so much energy, so much enthusiasm.
13 points now for Jackson.
Oh, wow.
Another air ball.
0 for 17.
Out the basket.
Shooting the 3.
Boy, I got to go back to the other one. You're right. 2.5 minutes to go. A 18, 20-point game. These kids look like they're in the final minute of the championship game, down by 1.
Unbelievable. You know, making an All-American team preseason is one thing. Being in the postseason is when it really counts. Yeah. I know my preseason. I know you wanted to ask me that, so I'll just respond.
Go for it. I was thinking the same thing.
And I had Gardner and Heinrich as my backcourt. David West, Nick Hollison, and Mike Sweetney. My second team, I had Duhon and Wade, Chris Marcus, Dudley, and Jarvis Hayes, who we're going to see tonight. And it's my top 10. But I'm going to tell you something. When he keeps playing like we've seen here tonight, he can be a top 5 selection. I mean, he is really super. There's no doubt about it.
Somebody will crash the party. I see you've got T.J. Ford on your 3rd team, and we're going to see him next as well. So we got a 3rd-teamer in T.J. Ford, the point guard for Texas, taking on a 2nd-teamer in Jarvis Hayes, a forward for Georgia. You're getting me all excited now.
I'll tell you one thing, Dan. I see you cheating looking at my notes. You're cheating. You're not supposed to read my handwriting.
I'm sorry.
I got the worst handwriting in the world. I write like a doctor.
Your handwriting I can't read. Fortunately, that was tight.
I write like a doctor, man. Hey, Jason Frazier, put him on the floor like they're doing. Let him learn. Let him make mistakes early. Let him just have time and time. There's nothing like experience. I mean, he's had a solid performance coming off the bench.
Played much better in the second half than he did in the first.
This club totally in control. I'll tell you one thing. He's answered some questions tonight, Travis Diener, about the point guard slot.
Shot the ball well early, but even more than that, he's handled the ball well. He's gotten them into the flow of their offense.
I don't know why, but I have a funny feeling this is going to be a special edition this year of Louisville basketball. I really do. If Marvin Stone, when he gains his eligibility at 6'11", is half as good as they're talking about, to give him that inside-outside with Gaines, Reese Gaines, they're going to be terrific.
The strength of Jackson earns him a trip to the line. Texas and Georgia, our second game tonight. Between games, the season preview, we're going to send you back to Reese and Digger. Also, Andy Katz with his news and notes. Always great information there, and an update on the health of Mike Krzyzewski.
Andy Katz is here.
Andy
oh,
Katz
wow,
is here.
We got all the stories there. My guy Andy K.
He's keeping a low profile here. He's digging around. He's looking. I know.
He's a daddy now. Yes, sir.
Is there anybody on the crew not flashing pictures around of babies right now?
But I always tease these guys. I always tell them, balance. You got to have balance in your life. Look at these guys.
Wow.
What are these guys doing? Hey, look, Dr. J right there. Get his autograph. I'll tell you one thing. Julius Irving, right? Look at the makeup.
Reese is getting pretty, huh?
Look at this. I don't use any makeup. Look at Reese there getting makeup.
You think the folks down in Alabama would be proud of him now?
I never got made. I know Dr. J doesn't want any makeup. I had the pleasure. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I had the pleasure on a Disney cruise. They invited Dr. J, Joe Namath, and me. And I was like a groupie, man.
Wow.
I'm there saying, you invite me with these two guys to be on the yacht there, to be on their big cruise and having a blast with our families. Two of the nicest superstars I've ever been around, Joe and Julius.
And two guys who took their sports really into a new era, really, when you think about how influential they were.
Julius Irving, great story against Marquette and Al McGuire to play in Massachusetts. And he's watching his kid. And he said, what is this? Who is this? Where's he from? Nobody knew about him. Dr. J, flying through the sky.
And how come he goes up and he never comes down?
He went to Roosevelt High School. He went to Roosevelt High School in Long Island, and not many people knew about him. And he went out to the University of Massachusetts.
Yes, for kids who are watching who don't know much about him, some people say he was Michael Jordan before there was a Michael Jordan. Is that fair?
Played for an outstanding coach in Jack Lehman. You know, he set the tide with that ballerina act of his. I mean, he was just so special. Baryshnikov in shorts.
You see how he picked up the cell phone to try to get Digger to stop talking to him up there?
I thought he was going to call me up on my cell.
Hey, a three.
Finally, one goes on. They got one. What is that, 1 for 17?
1 for 19.
1 for 19. I lost count. 1 for 19. I like that hustle.
Yeah, they're still working hard, too. And we get a timeout on the floor with 1:27 to play. The issue is no longer in doubt, but Randy Foye finally knocks down the first three-pointer for the Wildcats tonight after 18 straight misses.
I tell you, talk about the college game in terms of acrobatic and playing up in the sky, because this game is academic now, is the fact David Thompson was a skywalker there for North Carolina State.
2 in a row. Allen Ray knocks down a three.
Where have they been? I got a feeling they're going to bomb some of those threes against Drexel. Poor Bruiser. Bruiser. I got a feeling you're going to see some threes going down.
Hey, now it's going to go back over to Villanova. These kids are not giving up.
I like that they're playing hard. You know, you see Villanova and you think about the city of brotherly love and Philadelphia, and I think of Big Five basketball, you got to think of John Chaney, man. I was talking to some people today. Don't underestimate Temple. If the guy Butler inside, the young kid, gives him solid minutes, they're going to be a team with David Hawkins creating problems, because John Chaney can flat out coach.
I always love the Big Five games that you have there in that city.
He beat Villanova last year without Lynn Greer in the NIT.
That's right.
At St. Joe's, I really believe this year, I met Phil Martelli recently. I was speaking at a banquet over in Philadelphia for a group, Creative Finance, and he was there. And I'm going to tell you, he really raves about his guard, Jameer Nelson, and I got to believe this year he's going to have a big year.
Couple of threes for the Wildcats in the last 30 seconds or so. Now a tough turnaround by Foye.
Starting to make some shots.
Yeah, we're starting to see some of the skills of these Villanova freshmen. Foye and Ray have combined for those last quick 8 points.
See, I think it's important to go psychologically to really build off the positives. So he sits there, he takes all the positives late in the game, their hustle, making some shots late. As you look at the numbers here, showing a poor night shooting for Villanova and a great defensive stance by certainly Marquette. But you build on that, and then you go into the negatives in terms of a lot of patience, not helping on defense, not seeing ball you man.
Meanwhile, over in the Marquette huddle, you've got to think that right now, even with an 11-point lead, Tom Crean's going to be a little upset at some of his kids. Not that kid, but some of his kids.
I think that's his son.
You think so?
Yeah. I think that's a little Crean diaper dad day.
Future Golden Eagle.
I met his son here tonight, and I got to believe that's
Look,
it.
see, he's saying you got to use 2 hands.
Yeah.
2 fundamental basketball, Mom. Mom Joni there waving the yellow pom-pom.
Yes, sir. Look at him, Mom. I feel for the wives. I mean, his wife Joni's so excited. Nothing like having a coach come home with a W. You don't like those coaches when they come in with those L's.
Final minute here between Marquette and Villanova, and Sullivan fouls Diener.
Got to play the ball.
Look ahead. Give us a preview of Texas and Georgia. What are we going to see?
Well, you know, Texas very deep, and you're going to see a Georgia team shorthanded, playing without Daniels, playing without Thomas. So they don't have much bench. But they certainly have a solid starting 5. I think when you look at Texas, it's the depth. It's the depth, the size, and obviously you're going to see one of the great point guards in America, T.J. Ford. He is worth the price of admission with his quickness.
Maybe the quickest guard in America. As a freshman last year, led the country in assists, the first freshman ever to do that. The Longhorns, they can't wait. They want this game to get done so they can get out here and start their season.
Yeah, they want to get back and then watch their Longhorns play and keep their hopes alive in the football battle as they take on Texas Tech.
Boy, have the expectations ever been higher for a Texas basketball team going into the season than they are right now?
Well, you know what I like, though? Rick Barnes looks you right in the eye and he says, we're going to be good.
Yeah.
Rather than, I don't know about this, I don't know about that, and cry and whine.
Another 3. Sullivan knocks one down.
So then they make 3 in a row. They missed the first 17, and then they make 3 in a row.
Marquette breaks the pressure. It looks still like too little, too late for Villanova, but give them credit for not giving up. They had the ball.
That's intentional, man. That's intentional. You got to call 2 there.
The shame of it is for Villanova, the ball was loose before he committed the foul.
See, I would call that intentional. But I know it's the argument if you're playing the ball. Trying to stop the clock here. I mean, that's a tackle, man. That's a tackle.
Yeah.
That's an absolute tackle. I mean, that would make it in the NFL.
Timeout on the floor. 34 seconds to go. And it was an 18-19 point game for the longest time. All of a sudden, here come the Wildcats draining threes, which they hadn't done all night long, but they're still down 9 with just a half minute to go. Last timeout taken by Villanova, as you can see. Dwayne Wade, I think you would agree, has been the best player on the floor, maybe at both ends of the floor here in this game tonight.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, even a guy like me with one eye could see that he's the best player and best talent on the floor, and he's been the best performer. He's performing in a big city, man, the Big Apple, in New York. If you can do it in here, do it in New York, you can do it anywhere, baby.
You know, you see teams go at Dwayne Wade. They'll put a 6'7" guy on him, then they'll try a little quick 6'2" guy on him, and he's a tough matchup because guys his size, he can jump higher, he can run around him. I mean, he's stronger than some guys. I don't know how you match up with Dwayne Wade right now.
Very difficult. You get some help defensively. You try to kidnap him before he gets to the arena.
Well, we saw Carmelo Anthony for Syracuse in a losing effort, scored 27 in the first game last night. We saw Mo Williams with 25 for Alabama in the second game last night. Dwayne Wade, the scoring number's not quite there, 16, but the all-round game certainly has been. And we're looking forward to T.J. Ford in Texas taking on Jarvis Hayes in Georgia in the second game. Oh, about 20 minutes from now here on ESPN2. Townsend, who quietly has had a very nice night as well at the line right now for Marquette.
They have all contributed. It's just not been the Wade show. I mean, he's had contributions from a lot of people, including Novak knocking down some threes, Townsend very active, Jackson in a low post, Diener at the point guard slot.
The sub getting ready to come in right now for Marquette. Townsend at the free throw line. Villanova injected a little bit of life into their group of fans late, but probably too late here tonight.
Well, they take with them a little bit in terms of optimism and a little positive, a little hustle. I'll tell you this, they are flat out hustling.
And a timeout called by the Golden Eagles with under 29 seconds to play. And look at all the guys on the bench up off the bench. rewarding their teammates for a good play in a game, really, where the outcome's already been decided.
You know, a guy that doesn't get any credit at all when you think about Conference USA, Bobby Lutz, down there in North Carolina, Charlotte.
Yeah.
I mean, they're never going to be an easy opponent for anyone.
I think it's a league. It struggles sometimes for an identity, but the talent seems to be getting better and better. You bring in coaches like Pitino and Calipari, and you're going to get a lot of attention.
Oh, no doubt. It brings you great visibility and exposure.
Well, we've got a moment, so let's take a look at the preseason ESPN USA Today top 20, and the #1 team there is the same team that you think is going to be cutting down the nets.
Well, you know, they are really the deepest team in America. They have 2 at each position. When I was in Tucson and went to dinner with Lute Olson, he's so excited. He said this is the most athletic team he has. You look at Kansas, I think they got the best starting 5. I mean, Arizona's got a Hall of Famer in Lute Olson. Kansas leadership's a future Hall of Famer in Roy Williams, and they got a tremendous starting 5 with Simeon and Langford joining the likes of certainly Miles and Heinrich and Collison. The question is, can they get enough bench strength that really help them? And you look there at the second, I think Xavier's going to have one heck of a year with Romain Sato and David West. Maryland might be better than people believe. They looked impressive, certainly against the Harlem Globetrotters, a very good Globetrotter team with Cedric Sabalas and company. You know, Taj Holden, Drew Nicholas scored big for them. Blake is outstanding at the point guard slot. And Gary knows how to win. So I think that the Terps could be better. In fact, I think when you look at the ACC, you're going to have a race again between Maryland and Duke.
Now, there's some other schools like Wake Forest, NC State, Georgia Tech. What about Georgia Tech making a little bit of noise in the ACC?
That's a good point you just made. Chris Bosh, according to all the people that I've talked to, is the real deal. I know they would have loved to have him stay home in Texas. Paul Hewitt, you talk about a young star in coaching. He's done a special job. When you think about Georgia Tech and a lot of young kids they had last year.
Ray launches a 30-footer. Sullivan runs down the rebound. He puts up a desperation 3. And there's a foul called on Snowden. This game is over. 11-point lead, 11 seconds to go.
And you mentioned Wake Forest. Skip Prosser's got a young guard in Justin Gray, Eric Williams. They got to get a healthy Josh Howard. They need him badly to come back. And then you think about North Carolina State, as you said, who really, it was great last year to see Herb Sendek quiet all the critics. And I hope that happens for guys like Matt Doherty and Larry Shyatt, good guys, because you hate to see guys lose their jobs. I really do. I just love the game so much, love people, and I just don't like to see anybody suffer. I want them all to win, man. Let them all win. But I'll tell you, when you think of North Carolina State, the question is, can they replace their backcourt? When they lost Miller and Grundy, and Julius Hodge, a kid from out of New York City, is going to be a vital factor to them in his second year.
Jay Wright starting to empty his bench a little bit. Tom Grace, a junior from Catonsville, Maryland, coming into the game.
You know, this is called filler material.
You know what, Dick?
You tested me earlier.
Nobody fills like Dickie V.
You're testing me. That's what my guy Brad Nestor said one time at Brett Musburger. Brett Musburger called me once the filling machine. Are you kidding me?
Now, I hope we won't need it. I don't think we'll need it. We got Texas and Georgia coming up in a game, too.
You know, you're not going to work a lot of games this year together, and I'm excited, certainly, to be with you. And I've been blessed over my 24 years to work with so many outstanding play-by-play guys. I mean, the list is incredible, from Brad to John Saunders, Mike Tirico.